Arms and Armor in the land of Lincoln. You guessed it, we're talking about Illinois and more stuff that they're trying to ban. This is Alan with Quarter Horse Arms, and in this podcast I'm kind of sort of going to talk about HB 3238, which, if it gets passed by the Illinois Assembly, it makes it illegal to own, purchase, buy armor plate or armor, military helmets, and stuff like that. And they've gotten, pretty interesting with it. They're saying, well, hey, if you already own it, you can still own it. You just can't get any more. And you got to follow some rules. So if you get busted with it when you're not supposed to have it, the first time is a misdemeanor, second time is a felony. And between some of the stuff I've seen and read, there's some gaping holes. And in fact, in Illinois, it's kind of bounced back and forth, from Rules Committee back to Assembly, and I think it's still back in the Rules Committee right now. So there are, lots of issues. For starters, what if you own body armor? And there are certain types of body armor that have expiration dates, that after a certain date, the material possibly will have degraded to the point where it will no longer be effective. How do you replace it? And are you going to be in violation of the law if you're attempting to maintain your body armor, meaning you've already got it? And, then you have to look at, all right, why are they banning body armor? Because everybody knows criminals try and load up with body armor and with the extra 20, 30, 40 pounds after robbing somebody and successfully surviving any return fire with their body armor. They can then outrun the police or canines or whatever. You and I both know that's not going to happen. So how do you deal with that? Why are they doing this? I don't know. Maybe I'm guessing they're a little pissed off about the weapon ban and the U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals judge going, not going to happen so fast. And, that law is kind of bouncing back and forth. But what about people, to go back to the armor, what about, reenactors that have armor and helmets? There's no provision for that. I don't know how many reenactors there are, but presumably those helmets from an era are of a military nature. So who decides? You decide to go to a Renaissance fair, put on some armor, and you wind up in front of a judge in Illinois. How would that work? Is there a common sense factor in there? And at least from what the law reads, no, nobody thought of something as simple as that. I just think Illinois kind of got the, bug up its ass about firearms and stuff, which I'm going to include body armor, so that they can make up for any shortcomings in other legal, arenas. I have no clue how many people actually own body armor, meaning civilians. I have no idea how much of it's, steel plate versus Kevlar or composites. And, just based on the cost of stuff like that, I can't imagine that there are that many people that go parading around in body armor. Why are they making it an issue? The best answer I can come up with is why not. But here are a couple of things that, in my research, I'm not actually sure how to answer this. In fact, I'm kind of looking forward to and hoping that some of you may decide to throw in your 2 cents in some comments. But some groups are saying that the body armor is part of Second Amendment. And I'm kind of going, all right, to me it seems like a bit of a stretch. Are you taking away the body armor for the sake of taking it away, or is there a real problem in Illinois? I don't know. But for me, the issue is, as a regular run-of-the-mill person, and I am pro Second Amendment, but if firearms are being protected, a couple of things I saw, a YouTube video and a couple articles I read, everyone's pushing that this should be covered under Second Amendment because it has to deal with your right to keep and bear arms. This is where I'm not sure. I'm having an issue making that connection. I don't know that it's completely, out there, but I'm just not seeing it myself. And the question is whether or not the challenges will include that. But how do you know about whether or not it can be considered? Well, in the Heller decision, which was U.S. Supreme Court 2008, and there was even a challenge going back into the 1920s, but the Second Amendment protects arms in common use at the time for essentially law-abiding citizens doing law-abiding things like carrying their weapons to protect themselves. It also goes in somewhere, and I may be poorly paraphrasing it, but citizens, meaning society, decides what's common use. So, how would we tackle that one? I mean, how would you? I'm not 100% certain. I can tell you that if somebody said, yes, we need to ban AR-15s because they're not in common use, I would argue that having 25 million or more out in civilian ownership, that to me would constitute common use. I don't know where the body armor part fits in. I'm really okay with the people deciding what's common use. I mean, I could argue, on the one hand, if enough people say, hey, body armor should be included, I'd go along with it. I would equally go along with a bunch of people saying, all right, you're trying to get rid of body armor, big deal, you're just proving to the world that you're an absolute douche. So here's the quandary. I have no problem supporting Second Amendment and firearms. For me, I'm having difficulty with this stretch of going after, I will assume, a relatively few numbers of people. And, if you're going to allow cops to wear body armor, yes, people shoot at them. I'm a gun dealer, aren't I worth protecting too? Or I could argue, what about people that aren't gun dealers and aren't police? Why should they be less protected? I mean, if you stop to think about it, and yes, I'm going off on a tangent here, I can see having no machine guns. I mean, you can pull the trigger pretty quick on a semi-automatic rifle. So they don't want us to own guns, but what about, people like the president? He's got armed guards protecting him. And I don't think that's 100% necessary, because somebody kills the president, there is a line of succession. Somebody kills me, I'm just dead, and my family has to suffer through that loss. Well, I hope they're suffering through the loss. So, again, are we going to look at everyone's equal, but some people are more equal than others? is Governor Pritzker going to decide that there's a stopping point? Or is he going after things like body armor because maybe he figures a bunch of people are going to look at it and kind of take my approach, which is, okay, do I know people that have body armor? Yes, I do. Do they walk around wearing their body armor? As a matter of fact, 2 of the ones I know are school resource officers, and they wear body armor all the time while they're on the job. The other people I know got it as part of a review, so they were actually testing the plate or the plates. So these are not people that walk around with body armor. I'm just going to guess that maybe Pritzker figures he can pass this law and get it past everybody. I wish I had a simple answer, but I got confused. Like I said, I got confused figuring out with, all right, should armor and helmets be considered part of Second Amendment? Or is it, something that really doesn't matter to me or maybe a bunch of other people? And is it going to be a sticking point where people that are pro-Second Amendment and the ones that are saying, no, body armor is part of firearms, so it should be protected? Are they gonna bring the lawsuits for the sake of bringing the lawsuit? Is the governor passing the law for the sake of passing a law and can then claim I got a firearms bill passed? I do look forward to hearing comments about this because, and I've said it several times during the podcast, is I'm having a stretch with making the body armor equivalent to a firearm. So if you've got comments, I look forward to them. Feel free to call or text to 919-808-6480. You can email to info@quarterhorsearms.com. And as always, I'm Alan with Quarter Horse Arms in Snow Camp, North Carolina. Please get back to me if you have any thoughts on this. Otherwise, have a great day and be safe.